for, someone who is new or looking to explore, let's say they're coming from a different industry, right? They're looking to enter this space and they need to build out, that network. They want to get to meet people. You mentioned, Naya as one. It could be somebody who is, they're not African American, but they're still trying to bridge into the space. Like what are some points of guidance that you might say, hey, try this to start building your relationships?
I think trade organizations are key, right? Yeah. Because I think, again, they allow you to have access to people, not only in your geographical location, but outside of your geographical location. Depending on the trade organization, they can be people within your discipline or outside of your discipline, right? So I think trade organizations is a great way to kind of say, hey, can I just meet with you and talk this through? I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. Regardless of your race, regardless of where your background, meaning to your point, coming from a new industry, I think starting to have those conversations are key. I do think that you have to do your research, right? So, thank God for the internet and thank God for Google and all these other search engine platforms, because there's so much, right? I mean, even listening to this podcast, right? If you just said insurance podcast in Google, right? Or on YouTube, right? I mean, there's a slew of them. And this being one of the top ones, I think this is where you can find the information you're looking for. I mean, and honest information, not textbook material. Like, this is the real, y'all. This ain't gonna be
100.
Like, it ain't pretty, it ain't cute. It is honest though.
But if you stick it through.
Yeah.
But if you stick it through, like, that's the key. But this is one of the things that I think about. It's like, and I'm asking to you as a question, how do you feel like this business has changed you or grown you as a person over the years?
Oh, wow. It continues to grow me. So I think there's a lot of different aspects to this industry that have helped develop me to who I am. I mean, first and foremost, obviously, as an industry, we're an evolving industry, right? We respond to how society is changing, right? So, obvious point, technology, right? I mean, over the last 30, 40 years, we have changed drastically because we're responding to new technology that's coming on the scene, right? Now we have, InsurTech, which exists, which, again, it was a thing 50 years ago, but it's evolving to now it's more of a thing, right? It's more of a thing,
right?
The thing, right? So I think, technically speaking, because of that, I've been able to, grow and understand and develop in that fashion on the technical side. But I think, also maturing from a leadership perspective, right? I mean, there's so many opportunities within our industry to have a voice and to have influence. It's just about finding where that is, right? Maybe it is within your organization, right? So if you want to be a leadership there's opportunities. But I also think even outside, and I think that's the beauty of our industry. Like, there's so many opportunities even outside of where you're employed that you can start to shape what you define leadership to look like, and your influence, and shape how your influence impacts people. And granted, I'm sure that exists in a lot of other industries, but I think especially for BIPOC and underrepresented groups, that this is a new shift for our industry, right? Like, before, yes, people got promoted. Yes, there's the people of color in leadership, but again, to our point earlier, not enough. And so now, as these opportunities get created, don't be afraid to step into them, right? Don't be afraid to raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. Because I think that's important, that you start to recognize, your maturity in these leadership kind of platforms and roles. But I just think, as a person too, right? If your network is a ride or dies like mine, they'll check you at every turn. They'll check, but that's what they're supposed to do, right? But that's what they're supposed to do. So I would say, again, going back to the whole network conversation, you need, a group of individuals that are, that will give you, input, whether you call them mentors, whether you call them, confidants, whether you call them, I don't care what you call them, people who will just give you the real. And I try to keep those people close, right? Because if I'm turning left and I'm turning right and that's a wrong turn to make, I need someone not 5 steps behind me on my back.
Right. Right.
Saying, hold up, sis, hold up, sis, hold up, sis. Let's make this U-turn real quick. And so I think, so you have professionally, you have, leadership wise, you have socially and just personally, great opportunities for development in our industry.
So you can cultivate your leadership skills. You can cultivate your networks just by building and
exactly
with other people, right? And different things, and they're going to challenge you. You're going to be able to challenge them. Going back to something you had mentioned earlier, kind of going into an organization and having to deal with people's ignorance, and their own kind of nuanced personalities, kind of helps cultivate, thicker skin too,
Exactly. You gotta have a thick skin. Yeah, you gotta have a thick skin. Because I mean, our industry, especially when we're talking about, again, underrepresented groups, I mean, we're behind the curve, right? We got a lot of things we got to do. And so if you don't recognize that people are going to make mistakes, not everybody is at the same place in their journey around diversity. And I know we use that term diversity journey a lot, but I mean, it's real. It is a process. So you have to be able to recognize that, some days are going to be good days, some days are not, right? Some people are going to accept you and some people are not. Sometimes you got to fight and sometimes you can coast, right? But you got to have that thick skin on the onset to be prepared for whatever the road might take.
Absolutely. So with everything you got going on, I mean, you're winning awards, you're acclaimed, network is vast. Like, what is it that keeps you motivated? Like, what's driving you now?
My clique and my family. Right. I mean, so, I love getting on the phone, and you and I have done it many times where, that energy around building and around doing and around impacting is like, we'll be on the phone for an hour and only talk about 2 things. Right? Because the energy is there and the desire to make a difference is there. That keeps me motivated every day. And, the only thing second to that is legacy. Like I want a better place for my kids, and whether it's in the industry that I'm in or outside the industry, I want a better place. And so I got to do my part to help build it. Right. And so if I'm going to make that happen, especially in my industry, well, I got some blocks I need to, stack on top of some cement. I got to make it work. And so that keeps me motivated as well.
Absolutely. Well, you definitely got one here. You already know. You already know.
Well, like someone was teasing me the other day. They're like, why do you call him your rock star? I was like, mind your business, yo. Right. Like he's my rock star, right? That's what he needs to know, right?
Yes. Look, so I appreciate that. You know what? That's what drives me. I remember one time we were talking, and I can't remember what we were talking about at the time, but I called you, and I just jumped right into whatever the subject was. And I was like, hold on a second, my bad. You're like, no, let's get to
it. Don't stop now. Yo, we in.
But you're right. It's like the excitement and the energy is infectious, and it does, just kind of keep things moving forward. It keeps the momentum going. So for somebody who is listening to this conversation, this is kind of our closing question for you. They're listening to this conversation and maybe they're thinking about, getting into the industry. Maybe they're facing some of the same challenges, that you're faced. It's another, it's a Black woman. Maybe she's at a company right now.
Yeah,
right. And she's in a role and she's thinking about maybe making the transition, going out on her own, or maybe in a different industry, and saying, hey, what might this insurance industry, be all about? What would Ngozi and Nnaji have to say to her?
Come on, sis. Like what you got to lose, right? Like, I'm a firm believer that, again, going back to that whole comment of stepping out on faith and just trying, right? I mean, this industry is the best industry there is, right? And I can show you better, I can tell you, right? So you gotta step out and believe. And I just, I want people to recognize that it is the foundation for so many different things currently in our society. There's not another industry that exists like ours that touches every other industry. You can't get a car without insurance. You can't get a home without insurance. Businesses can't be businesses without insurance. So there's not another industry like ours. So if you're thinking about it, stop thinking, do
it.
Be a part of this industry. Look, it's the takeover, right?
It is. You know what that snap? You know what my snap is for.
I know that's right.
You know, that's inside. One guy make that. Yeah. You know, but how do folks get in contact, you know, with you, or how do they find out more about Aqua Insurance Consulting and what you're doing? If there's a carrier company listening to this and they want to reach out and find out how to get more, you know, engagement, the quote unquote diversity, equity, inclusion, you know, campaign strategies in place for them, how do they get in contact with you? So
we have a website, aquainsuranceconsulting.com. I got to get a website for the brokerage. Like historically, it's all been referrals, but y'all crazy out there. I need to. So look for that to come. Aqua Brokerage Services website. We're on all the major social media platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So Aqua Brokerage, Aqua Insurance Consulting, all there. And I do a little, you know, personal stuff on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Ngozi Nnaji, Ngozi, last name Nnaji. But we out there. We out there. She ain't hard to find, y'all. She ain't hard to find. Look, you just hit her with an A. Google. Yeah, right. Right? Come on, bro. Right? We try to make it easy for y'all. So let me just say, Rod, thank you so much. You know, I appreciate you so much for coming on. Listen, this has been a powerful conversation. Lots of nuggets, lots of great information, education, once again, inspiration, which is something that you always do. If you see a Black Friday that's happening close to you, boom, there it is. You need to go. You need to be there. If you hear about, you know, if you hear about a Black Men in Insurance call, you know, that's happening, whether it be on Clubhouse or a LinkedIn event, you need to be there. If you hear about Black Women in Insurance call, you need to be there. I guarantee you will not leave any of those forums thinking the same way you did when you entered those forums. And if you were thinking similar, it's going to be enhanced. Yes, right. You're gonna be on fire, and in order to stay warm, you got to stay close to the fire. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you. And maybe in this conversation, you heard yourself, you know, you maybe had that voice in your head or a little thought that made you think, maybe you should get a license. Until next time, talk soon. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Rod. Have a good one.